stages is where the Kimi start to pop off. So they have a good curve from the early, mid to late.
And the big question is, what are going to be the winning conditions for Niightmare Esports? With the Fredrin, technically they do have a little bit to say around neutral objective takes. The big question is, do they want to contest it? As it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Land of Dawn. Game number 1 in this best of 3 series between the Mekong representative Niightmare Esports and EECA's Virtus.pro. Let's get straight into it.
All right, into the Land of Dawn we go. Right at the start of the game, we do have the Fredrin that starts off in the orange and the Yisunshin on the purple, with their final destination going to be over to the gold lane. So this is likely going to be a little bit northern heavy kind of game for both sides. So expect pretty early fights, especially for Too Easy for Lexi. I think that he would want to put a little bit more pressure in the early stages, given how tanky he could be later on, and he wants to punish the fact that there's so many marksmen on the opposite side.
Yeah, timings are going to be very important here, but remember, Cammy on the Harris requires a little bit more time to get going, so it's kind of a mixed matchup. Wait a second, in the mid lane.
Oh, Bomber. He's suffered quite a bit of damage, but it's not going to be too big of a problem in the end.
That's the range. That's the range that they're working with right now. Jasmine now looking to open up the map, giving in some information. But back to the gold lane, right? The Harith requires a little bit more time. Meanwhile, we can see even from the emblems themselves that Bruno should have a better time in the early stage of the game.
So, at least for now, nothing too much that is kind of a surprise. We have definitely tankiness that we want to see from the side of Pluto, as well as bad card as much as possible. So, we have all the frontline options. We have some of these crowd control from the side of Pluto as well. But if they want to do anything, it is mostly going to be on the bad card as much as possible. He makes up the space. He opens up the space as much as possible and just tanks it in, while they just march right into the Niightmare Esports jungle. Which
is quite intriguing because his reputation shows that he's a very aggressive EXP laner. Being forced on Uranus, we'll see. Turtle already half health.
He can be very aggressive at this point in time. And Doryu a little bit too deep into the turtle pit. As such, he's going to be flying up to the sky because of the lantern flare. Idid is going to be the next one onto the chopping block with back cart, getting himself 2 kills already. And Jasmine, a very comical EXP laner. He goes in and right out with a quick little dash.
All right, 2-for-1 trade, but it looks like they're going to be the ones to pick up the turtle. So technically too easy for Lexi. Luckily for him, was still able to get the retribution down. So there's a little bit of a mixed trade happening in this particular regard as we're entering kind of a stale moment here in the 3rd minute of the game. What else are we expecting? Do Niightmare Esports just want to continue on this tempo that they're on?
Naturally, I would say that they would want to slowly win in the game. In the early stages, they would want to rush right into the face. Not exactly rush per se, but they are a very comical combo after all, right? But speaking of which, the Comet is going to happening with Pluto just going in for the AOG, jumping right in, but this is going to allow them to do quite a bit over to the side of Jasmine, taking 1 kill down, but Pluto now, he suffers his own death to the hands of Too Easy for Lexi.
Yeah, very, very aggressive coming from Jasmine, looking for quite a re-engage here. So it is Jasmine traded in for Pluto. Not too bad so far, as it looks like Niightmare Esports are still looking. Oh, wait a second, by Lucci.
Oh, just a tad little bit by Lucy. He's almost there and almost dead, but we got another health bar working for him.
Ooh, I mean, talking about by Lucy, right? I think he's going full damage build, looking at
the ignition, right?
Exactly, looking at the emblems earlier on, but now Pluto might be in trouble.
Oh, unfortunately, the traction pulse pulls Jasmine right in, but oh, wait, just a little bit of inch. Jasmine actually manages to get away with just a sliver of health. Virtus.pro is not looking to continue to move up on top of that.
A lot of action in this game, right? We were expecting that as well. 2 very aggressive teams going head-to-head against one another. What a great way to close out the wild cards of the day. I did. You're alone here. That's a 3v1.
The very aggressive outie. That is not something that we were expecting, but as much as we want to see Niightmare Esports try to play very aggressive, I think that he underestimated the amount of damage these early game marksmen actually have.
All right, and that's going to be a contention, I believe, for the turtle taken in by Virtus.pro. Another dive coming through from Pluto here onto by Lucy. Not going to be able to get it, but what was that? I mean, granted, we understand, right? This Jushin is building more utility, right?
Yes.
She has a little bit more, leeway in these team fights, but I don't think
I don't think
like
there's
that.
in any realm you'll want to ult in. Most of the time, it is a very good escape mechanism. You can just walk in, shine your lantern flare and all, and just kind of out the way. But speaking of which, Bad down at the bottom, finds himself taken down. It's gonna be a small little problem. He's going to be that sandbag after all.
Bad caught, taken out. Maybe that's miscommunication issues that we might be looking at, but
I would like to think so, but at least I did as well as by Lucy. The both of them, I would want to believe that they will play with one another. They should be the tag team per se, but it's not exactly going to be that way. And Lucy's just kind of cooped up down to the bottom.
All right, a little bit of a reset here. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes in, we can already see some trades in the neutral objective takes. That turret finally falls in favor of Niightmare Esports, so that's a little bit more, leeway, a little bit more movement that they're going to be able to utilize to their advantage. Putting Badcott in his place, not going to be able to open up and be as aggressive as we would expect Uranus to be able to play. Meanwhile, IDID finally picks up that next item, the glowing wand, to kind of aid in their ventures in these team fights, because we've seen a couple of times, Pluto and Badcott, especially with the revitalize and the regenerations, being kind of a big problem for Niightmare.
Perhaps we'll be looking out for more solutions for their problems, right? Because even though we think that Niightmare Esports is in a kind of a tough spot, because they're going up against a triple marksman composition, but they're not winning by a landslide, and even losing Cammy at this point in time, this is essentially going to be a free turtle that's going to be credited over to the side of Virtus.pro, right? So Niightmare, they gotta work something out here.
That's not good. That's not good.
That's not.
Yeah, they're on a ticking time bomb right now, and they do want Cammy to get to the power spike as soon as possible. And the fact that Cammy, unfortunately, was taken out earlier on with a little bit of a gold lead, by the way, compared to the Bruno. Oh, that's the damage from the Bruno. That's the siege, and that's Jasmine being zoned out away as they are going to be able to pick up another turret. What do? Do they just
like Niightmare?
Play a little bit more patiently?
For Niightmare?
For Niightmare.
I would like to believe that the timer is actually going against them. The moment that they try to play a little bit more on the safer side, they are generally going to find themselves lacking in the later stages, because Virtus.pro, the moment that they pick up one item to the next item, their power spike is just immense. It's just immense, right? It's scary. Well, Niightmare Esports, they are just playing all around Cammy. They want, if anything, funnel over to Cammy. Well, for Virtus.pro, any form of wins is going to go to either Andoryu, to Boba, or to Super Igorka. Either one of these three, they will be happy to get the funnel, they will be happy to get a kill, and go.
Let's see how the siege happens here. Already some rotations coming in from Andoryu as well as Super Igorka. Pluto's on the way as well. This is a perfect zone, a perfect land, a perfect macro.
The AOG lands onto Cammy, melts him down in an instant. Niightmare Esports can't do anything but to play possum. All the way underneath the turret, there is going to be the good final slash. It's just going to be roping Pluto right in and allowing them to go for one-for-one trade. Not the best trade, but at least something.
Yeah, at least there is something that they're going to be able to pick up. But the big question is, will it be enough? Because that was traded in for Cammy. That's a lot of damage. IDID barely gets out.
Jaspin, though, he's hoping to walk himself right out of that, but that's not going to be the way. Boba say no. Too much of that slow going to work for them. And Doryu picks himself yet another kill over to IDID, as Jaspin and IDID, these two down. Virtus.pro with the 3 marksmen, they've got great sieging capabilities.
For sure, right? Because they have the range advantage. This was something that we were talking about even from the drafts, and we're getting it live in action right now. I mean, Niightmare Esports are unable to just walk up. They need a different solution to get into the backline. And unfortunately, by Lucy all alone, I don't think he's going to be able to handle it. Pluto, once again, goes for a little bit of a taunt there. Doesn't commit. Cammy's on the way.
This is at least something that's going to be working out for them. They do have the Summon Force just going to be top right out, and Pluto just re-enters into the Summon Force, allowing him to be the death for the team. But not only that, Boba also finds himself taken down. So Niightmare Esports, finally, great defense. They managed to push Virtus.pro in, or rather out, with 2 kills in the bag.
But remember, that's a Lord still in for Virtus.pro. And we were talking about Siege, we were talking about range. They have all of
they have
that.
Everything now.
Exactly. Niightmare Esports, on the other hand, they don't have the best wave clear, right? Technically, they only have Cammy. Obviously, they do have a little bit of range to work with for IDID, but it's not nearly as much wave clear pressure that Virtus.pro is having with the composition that they brought here.
Exactly. I mean, Jasmine can wave clear pretty effectively, but all he have is his ultimate and his first skill. Too easy. Everyone else can't stun creep, so he can't just dash in for free everywhere and every time to clear the wave. So I think that is definitely something that is not exactly in the picture per se. Niightmare Esports, they have to play together as one because they are always just getting picked out one after another. But in the meantime, the Summon Force is going to be dropped down coming from the side of Cammy. He manages to get himself a little bit more shields in order to survive against this plot from the side of Pluto. While we have all 5 members from the side of Virtus.pro just marching right in together with the Lord. They will siege down the crystal with no problems at all in 10 minutes.
1 game away, ladies and gentlemen, for the EECA representative in Virtus.pro to make their way into the 2-0 bracket tomorrow.
Oh man, is this the first sub 11-minute game we have for today?
It was fast. It was fast for sure.
And this is a triple marksman composition. So far, this is working. Triple marksman composition is working miraculously, greatly, with flying colors at this point in time. I can't help but think that Niightmare Esports, they are not exactly working together in the most coordinated fashion to play towards their strength, right? If Frederick wants to enter a fight, if he wants to start off a fight, he have to go through many layers. If he managed to somehow dash in over to the front lines, okay, great, there's 3 marksmen just targeting him. He's gonna be dead. If somehow there's no front lines and he manages to go over to Kimi, for example, oh great, there's still 2 marksmen behind him.
That makes sense.
That
makes sense. It really was tough. We saw it implemented into the game. The way that it was executed was a little bit harsh. And on top of that, I think if they wanted to play towards the Harith and for the Harith, I think they should have actually played for the Harith in the game as well. It felt like it was a little bit scrappy. I don't know the winning conditions, if it was, as clear or not, but definitely Cammy was not having the greatest of times. So it poses the question, is it a Harith problem? Do you think Harith still belongs in this meta?
I don't think the Harith is great, but it's not the worst either. If you really want to get something working for Harith, you gotta have to play together with the Harith, because let's be honest here, throughout this entire fight, or rather throughout this entire game, we didn't really quite see a point in time where Niightmare Esports plays together as 5, where they come in with a coordinated initiation, Jasmine going in with the final slash, and then Lucy just zooming himself over to the backlines kind of thing. They have a role for each other, but they didn't execute them together at the same time to secure them a win in team fights.
It was unfortunate. It was definitely unfortunate. We're looking at a little bit of the replays here, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it was just really executed well as well, right? Pluto coming in. This was actually something that we were discussing, I think, pre-wild card.
Pre-wild cards.
Pluto is known to be a really good initiator, but sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way.
Where he gets too overzealous.
Yes. But in this regard, I think he played really well with the team. He was able to get the openings that were proper and really just pave the way for the rest of the members to deal out the damage without being touched. And I think that was a really important factor. The peel was there.
They have what it takes for that game, and it worked out great. But Gideon, tell me a little bit more about that. Do you enjoy that game? 11 minutes.
I love it. I love it. I'm all for it. This is the first time that we're seeing a pretty standard overall draft other than our previous matchup. This time round, it made a lot of sense, right? You can clearly see the ideas that are coming into play, and more importantly so, just a better understanding in the draft in terms of the relationship of how these heroes work together. Although, I will say, some of the most, well, for me personally, at least, I have to rephrase that for a moment there. I love that opener coming in from Niightmare. They had a really strong opening three of the Arlet, the Jushin, on top of having the Fredrin. The main idea is making sure that these three, whether the Arlet goes into the EXP or going into the roam position, get those resets online, get that early damage in. But then we see the problem that comes on later down in the game. Hey, we're kind of lacking that damage now that the Arlet's in the support position, right? The only time we see them win fights is when they actually catch Bobber out of position. Maybe if Andoryu made a mistake, but he didn't make that mistake with the final slash. He was playing a near perfect game. I think that Virtus.pro right now are looking really, really good. And that's kind of weird for me because they're playing like a unit. And based on the information I've heard, it seems that only one of the members from Virtus.pro actually speaks English to Andoryu. So it's one dude. So it's Andoryu having to communicate with one guy and one guy explaining to the other three people what needs to happen in the game.
So Pluto.
So Pluto, yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's just, I don't know how they get away with it. So far, I feel like Niightmare, a little underperforming. I think they've got good drafting ideas, but man, Virtus.pro came out of the gate swinging.
Honestly, having one person to translate for everyone else and everyone else to translate for one person, that's a lot of job for Pluto. At this point in time, if I'm Andoryu, I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. I don't talk. I'll just sync with you guys. Let's just connect minds. Just hive mind.
Hive-minded.
Just connect yourself to the Kala real quick. I'm telling you, putting Andoryu, picking up Andoryu number one was a great pickup. And here's why. MPLPH Season 14. When you are looking at Season 14 for MPLPH, you're thinking about like the King Kongs. You're thinking about the Carl Teasies of this world. And who has the best stats at the end of that regular season? Andoryu.
Actually.
Yes.
From Omega.
Actually.
He's killing it right now with this team. All right. With that being said, there's so much we can talk about, but we're going to save it for a little bit later. For now, we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we're going to see whether or not it's going to be an all Virtus.pro day with a 2-0 victory, or will it extend to a potential Game 3 if Niightmare pulls it back? We'll find out right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Cards here at the 2025 EWC Esports World Cup live in Riyadh. My name is Getting Q. For those of you just tuning in, you missed out on a banger of a game number one. Virtus.pro showing that they can flex on their opponents. Niightmare looking to recover. Now, coming into game number two, we had a bit of a discussion about what could potentially change in the upcoming draft. Of course, it's going to be Abstract as well as Eterna at the desk to keep you guys entertained. Walk us through it, because again, adjustments need to be made. We thinking switching sides. We thinking, you know what, we need a more refined strategy, because this is the most standard MLBB we've seen in quite some time.
I definitely agree when it comes down to the opening draft. The first three that were picked out, I love that coming in from Niightmare. But from that point onwards, right as we went over to break, I did mention that I don't really like the combination of mashup plus the Harith itself. I thought that, look, if they have the possibility to pick up a Bruno so that they can play it front to back, that would have been my choice if they want to play early game.
And it just really dives back to our earlier conversation about, are we playing for meta or are we playing for comfort? Because we did mention in the draft that Harith was one of his power picks is the Harith. So maybe that was something that he was a little bit more comfortable with. But as a result, we saw that the game was a little bit junky, right? The timings weren't really correct. It was very difficult because obviously they needed to wait a little bit more time for the Harith to get to the power spike.
Yeah.
And so it was very difficult for them to find that moment where, like, okay, we have a really strong first three in the drafts, but how are we going to be able to get the ball rolling later on? Because if we're talking about power spikes, the Kimmy starts rolling in the mid game, and that's what we started to see, right? The Cammy on the Harith had absolutely no say in these team fights because lacking range, lacking the damage, and of course doesn't have the correct, I would say, regeneration and the shielding just yet because of the lack of items.
I think a lot of the information being distributed because of the Mountain Shockers, specifically from Andoryu in that game, allowed them to kind of avoid that trinity, right? I was like, oh, Frederick's going to be here, therefore the mid laner's going to rotate this side. Let's just avoid that altogether, right? Well, Uranus, do your thing, survive, live, live, my boy. Now, going into this next draft, I'm excited to see what Niightmare has in store for us. Keep in mind, 2 lives. It's a GSL format. They drop one series, not that big of a deal, but it just means that they have one final life throughout the rest of the tournament.
Which will happen tomorrow. So we're going to say goodbye to 2 teams, I believe, tomorrow, right?
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially? Okay, fair.
It'll hurt. It'll definitely hurt my soul just a little bit. Just a little bit. But looking at how the games are going to be played, we need to see a little bit more refinement, right? They don't want to obviously throw out all their strategies here. They're looking for a qualification spot into the main event, which is the group stages of the Mid Season Cup. Let's jump right into the draft. Give it up for Eterna and as well as Abstract at the desk.
Okay. Let's start things off, right? When it comes down to the drafting, we do have VP that's going to be on first pick, first ban, and Niightmare on second pick, second ban. We start things off with the Farsa that's thrown over to the banning pool already. It's something that we are not surprised about. Farsa has been making rounds and rounds.
She's OP. She's broken.
Yeah.
She's broken, right? If we're talking about mid laners who have damage, good escape, good rotation,
just
good clear, it's Farsa.
She gets high ground. Honestly, what does she not have? Crowd control? No, she does have crowd control.
Yeah. She's a little vulnerable. I guess we could argue for that.
Yeah, I guess. But that will be the same for all mages.
I mean, Zetian has a passive.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right?
Passive,
so
120 seconds, by the way. 120 seconds. So that is just pop and, okay, 120 seconds, I'm going to be completely vulnerable. But hey, it is a consolation prize, I'd say.
Once again, the Boxer gets banned out. So it seems like we might be seeing maybe similar drafts from game number 1.
As much as I want to see that from Virtus.pro again, because we didn't really quite manage to see the essence of the triple marksman over to the late stages of the game so far. All the triple marksmen so far has been winning in the early and then to the mid, and then they just close out by then. We didn't even get to see the extent of how scary triple marksmen can very potentially be in the late stages, or how vulnerable they can very potentially be because of the lack of frontline / anchor. They have 3 guys in the back lines ready to deal damage. Is it enough to just dive into the back lines, kill all 3, or do you want to deal with the front lines kind of thing?
That's going to be an answer that we might see now. 1-1 gets banned once again. So I'm wondering if they're going to be opening up different types of junglers here. Maybe the YSS didn't really work out as well. Do they want to look for something different? Maybe the Hayabusa left open this time around?
Honestly, if you are talking about something different, since Yi Sun-shin has been picked up so often, banning that out, we still have a jungle marksman that is still available, and we would have expected that he makes his rounds. Roger, we haven't seen him in a long time.
I was as you were talking, I was like, are you going to say the R word?
Maybe I will just be like, nudge you a little bit. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I mean, technically flashbacks to last year of MSC. I mean, granted, it wasn't Roger in the jungle, it was Roger Gold Lane.
Yes.
But it would be quite surprising, once again, if we do see the Roger come to play in the very next EWC. Let's see if it actually pops up, because Fanny is going to be the choice of ban alongside with the Kalea. And Virtus.pro pick up the Uranus.
So it is, and it will be the same form of opening for Virtus.pro. The difference is in the previous game, Niightmare have first pick, first ban. They have decided to go for that Arlet first. So they are not going to opt for that because it didn't work first time. So let's try something else. They do have the Badang as well as the Granger. So great that we have a Granger here this time. Cammy, Rocket.
Yeah, really good laning presence for the Granger, really good early game for the Granger as well. So it's already a different shade coming through from game number 1 to game number 2 for Niightmare. They also have tools to work with in the Badang and really big flex capability, because technically this Badang can go EXP, it could go roam as well. So it's actually putting VP in a position where they're going to have to think, all right, what's our next move? Technically right now the Hayabusa is open. So will they explore that, or are they going to be prioritizing the Fredrin?
They could quite literally go, oh.
Interesting.
Okay, so they're leaving the possible 2 marksmen as an X factor. They don't have to go to that direction. They didn't do it one time, doesn't mean that they would do the second one. But having an Arlet for themselves as the utility side, and also having the Uranus in the XP lane, the direction still feels as though they are lacking damage now. So let's pick up 2 more marksmen, kind of thing.
2 more marksmen, but I don't think they can. Do you still think that a Roger is a potential pickup?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. If they want to play in the early stages of the game, it really depends on how Niightmare moves up to the next one, which is the Hayabusa in the end. So it's a little bit scary, right? It's a little bit scary to pick up so many marksmen if you have a Hayabusa on the opposite side. So just because of this, I don't think that they're going to be opting for the Roger anymore. We gotta look out for some of the other junglers. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, an assassin for an assassin.
Yeah, Link gets taken out here in the second phase, but back on that point, right? Kimmy mid lane is what we're looking at.
It could potentially still go over to the gold as a small little flex. 9 out of 10, that's mage.
Yeah, so there's still room for a gold lane pickup here. What are we thinking against the Granger? Are we looking at Irithel?
I would say Irithel. Normally, Irithel is where you will be able to bring it into a skill matchup, a 50-50 per se. So as long as Niightmare continues to focus onto the jungle bans, then I think that that's going to be fine. Because literally all 4 out of 5 are all dedicated to jungle. They have that kind of respect over to Andoryu, and for good reasons.
I'm a little nervous now.
I am too.
Oh, Fredrin gets taken out as well.
Yep.
What?
All jungles are out.
What is Andoryu gonna play?
So let's take a look at this, right?
Joy?
Assassin. Okay, yes, Joy is gonna be the other side, right? Joy. What else? Joy, Roger, Lancelot. Yes, that's something that we can see as well. But looking at the fact that they are first pick, first ban, they gotta have to pick their B4 and B5 at the same time. So not much of the X Factor game that I want to see from them.
Jushin banned out by VP. Respecting that presence. If the Jushin gets banned out and the CC gets banned out, I think they might be going for utility in the jungle. Do you think that this Uranus is flex?
No.
Right? I mean, CC and Jushin banned out?
If you know what, these bans are all fully catered to ensure that Uranus will have a good time. I think you're onto something here. As much as I don't like it, I think Niightmare, they won't have an answer to a Uranus that runs amok if there's no Jushin to deal with this. unless a Valir somehow pops up.
I was thinking more of something like Lunox.
Lunox! I think that's relatively fair as well, yeah. Lunox with Power of Darkening has got some crazy burst damage the moment that she reaches level 4. And Novaria! Okay, we did see one Novaria in the previous game, but, or rather the previous 2 series ago, the second series of the day, but that didn't work out too well. It's a loss for them.
I mean, they're looking for range, right? They see that VP has the Kimmy. They're looking for range. They're looking for a little bit more visibility, and perhaps to make it a combination between the Granger and the Novaria, right? That's a pair, that's a combo that we've seen time and time again, playing with the range, playing with the hitboxes.
Very poke style.
Exactly.
Right? Niightmare just wants to go for pokes the moment they found the opportunity. For the meantime, I'm pretty sure that their final pick for Niightmare is someone that works very well as a bruiser. You just want to go in, tank damage, deal damage. Lapu is going to be one of them. Yuzhong is also going to be great.
Abstract, that's a Hilda and a Moskov. You know what that means, right? I had a feeling from the vents.
Yeah,
there's no way Arlet goes jungle, right?
There's no way Arlet goes jungle.
So it's Uranus jungle.
It will be a Uranus jungle.
All right.
It has to be a Uranus jungle.
I mean, technically the Uranus jungle items in with the War Axe, with the way that the passive works, it shreds down magical defense. So it also does help accentuate Kimmy's damage in the early game. And plus, he does clear really quickly. So what will be the answer from Niightmare now, though?
Niightmare generally have a very poke. Oh, Edith! Okay, so when it comes down to Edith, they just want to stack and layer down all of these crowd control as much as possible. One thing that a Uranus hates the most is being crowd controlled, because that way you can't really do anything when it comes down to healing. You want to weave in and out of battle. The moment that you're just hard locked down by the 2 cycles of the onwards plus the Earth Shatter, you are taking a little bit too much damage during that downtime.
And that's some damage onto the Uranus as well, so that also might be a potential answer towards this.
I like the Edith, actually. I like the Edith. And with a secondary damage from an Edith is also another thing that we could very potentially look out for, right? The moment that you kind of pop out of Phylax, that is some great amount of damage that you can deal in a team fight setting. And especially for this team, they don't have a lot of damage in an AoE method. They do have got the Novaria, pokes, we do have Cammy, poke. By Lucy, at least, those chain lightnings, it will deal well in the team fight manner.
So let's see how it is going to be executed. Ladies and gentlemen, game number 2 in this best of 3 series. Can Virtus.pro go all the way? We're already seeing some damage onto Jasmine. Still going to be able to get out, but that's the range that they're playing with, as well as that aggression coming from the Arlet in the early stage of the game.
So right, to start things off, we do have both teams that is actually relatively heavy up to the northern side, with 3 members from the side of Virtus.pro that's making fast rotations all the way up top, trying to steal the Beetle away from Too Easy for Lexi as much as possible to kind of wait things out a bit, as Jasmine, hiding himself the Pixel Brush, did manage to get a little bit of a pop onto Bober, but it's not going to do too much other than say hi.
By the way, we were talking about crowd control so much from the side of Niightmare Esports, but that's going to have to wait.
As we do have Too Easy for Lexi finding himself in a tight little spot, but that is 2 shadows used up, and Too Easy for Lexi finds himself first blooded by the hands of Pluto, and Jasmine is going to be the next one onto the chopping block. Virtus.pro, great start by Lucy, joins in, and this is actually staggered team fight from Niightmare Esports.
They're playing aggressively. First 2 minutes, already 2 kills on the board, and a huge shutdown onto Too Easy for Lexi, considering this is a team that revolves around Too Easy in the jungle. Gonna waste a little bit more time from Niightmare Esports as we take a little peek into the emblems. Anything stand out to you?
I gotta have to say that it is the attack speed onto Edith. I'm expecting to go for vitality, right? A little bit more tankiness on them. So at least with that attack speed coming up for the Edith, it just means that they want to go a little bit more hybrid onto her. They want to stack up some damage, and if they have found the opportunity, then maybe Stalin Scythe will be a great one for Bai Lucy.
Oh, okay. Perfect turtle here. Perfect turtle take for the side of VP. Andoryu on the Uranus jungle. It's working out. Abstract, you were showing distaste in the drafts earlier on, but it looks like Andoryu is ahead of Too Easy. The fact that he was able to get shut down was also a big plus. They're able to get the neutral objective take as well. So talk to us about this Uranus.
So when it comes to Uranus, it has been a long time since, right? Uranus has always got really good clear speeds in the jungle, even way before he got his ionic discs buffed up. He can clear fast, but we just don't do that often, especially since a Uranus thrives in the amount of radiant stacks, and just proxying waves is the best way possible. So having a Uranus into the jungle just basically means, okay, I want to farm up as much as possible, because it takes time for Uranus to be damaging.
Uh-oh.
It's the Super Igorka down at the bottom, got caught by Jasmine as well as Cammy, but it's Super Igorka, he just sidestepped against Cammy, leaving both of them as Sliver. Wait, Super Igorka! With a great blink, he manages to find himself out of the way from Jasmine, and they outplayed him.
Beautiful backup coming in from VP there. Again, showing that is there truly a communication issue? Pluto now gets targeted, but not enough damage and not enough commitment here coming from Niightmare to take him down. And now that's a big aggressive invade coming from VP into the enemy jungle. Too easy.
Oh, the Traction Pulse lands on the Jasmine. The rest of Niightmare Esports want to do something against Virtus.pro, but unfortunately that is a purple buff that's already secured and going to the side of Andori. It's currently at level 7 as compared to Too Easy for Lexi at level 6. So this upcoming total battle is going to be tough for Niightmare Esports to even kind of yoink away from Virtus.pro.
Luckily, they are going to be able to catch up here, right? But the big question is, do they still want to? Now they gotta sit back and really think about their winning conditions, right? I think early game hasn't really worked out for them. They have lost control over these objectives, but that's an invade once again.
Yep. And Doryu knows exactly how far he can stretch his Uranus. The moment that he finds himself with some great items, he's going to go absolute ham as Bad God finds himself a kill, and Jasmine goes down as well. Before the turtle even went down, we've got 2 from Niightmare Esports that have already bitten the dust.
That's so nasty from VP. They're controlling every single part of the map. And unfortunately for Niightmare, they haven't been able to shut down Super Gorka either, right? So those items are stacking in. We're waiting for the Swift Trinity to come through, and as that hits, that's going to be the green light for Virtus.pro to take it here and now.
Now, the main problem that I have from the side of Niightmare Esports draft is that they don't have a form of burst. They have some in the late stages when it comes down to IDID plus Cammy. They can have those high ground games. But in the early stages, you don't have an answer to Andoryu just going into your face.
Exactly. They don't have DPS that they can fall back onto to kind of shred Andoryu down. And this is kind of the results of it. Look how aggressive they're going in once again.
Yep, Fist Break as well as Fist Crack just right into Andoryu. They did manage to put up quite a lot of bullets onto him, but they don't have enough crowd control to hold Andoryu in place. As such, he weaved himself right out of the fight with a brilliant amount of radiant stacks.
Okay, that's something, right? Too Easy gonna be able to shred that down at this point of the game. Oh, what is that damage, my guy?
That's skewer though. Niightmare Esports, 4 of them huddled down in the bottom lane while Too Easy for Lexi clears up the top lane. They need to get as much farm over to Too Easy for Lexi as much as possible.
That's what they're going for. Maybe looking for a cheeky turret as they're, on the way there. But again, there's just so many things that Niightmare Esports need to answer from VP. And unfortunately, it looks like they haven't really gotten to that point just yet. We're looking at items right now. You see Super Agorka already with a Corrosion Scythe on the way to the next 2. And look at that, Bobber.
Oh my goodness. Too Easy for Lexi can't do anything. Oh, never mind. The orange buff still went over to Andoryu, and Too Easy for Lexi loses his purple buff as well, as Andoryu just literally put himself right in the face of the opponent. He does have a brute force breastplate though, so he's not going to be too scared of anything, as now he's picked himself up with a double kill right onto Cammy, while Super Igorka brings Jasmine down by Lucy. It's going to be the next one onto the chopping block is Andoryu as well as Bad God. They are burning him down with no hesitation whatsoever. What for what trade?
Oh, but he still gets a trade down. Right?
Yeah.
By Lucy doing everything for his team right now, going to be able to get that, trade over to Bobber earlier on, and a trade with Super Agorka, I think that's kind of worth.
Yeah. So, all in all, 9-2. Because Niightmare Esports finally did manage to put a little bit of a dent into the armors of Virtus.pro, but is it going to be enough is going to be the main question. Because as much as Too Easy for Lexi have got his OG Shadow Kill and all, but Andoryu will tank up and will soak up all of that damage, no problems.
I think the items we should be able to, get a little sneak peek into, right? Because now Cammy has the next item in his arsenal, right? Did he go Sky Piercer? Did Cammy go Sky Piercer other than the Malefic Gun?
I really hope he doesn't. At this game, with the fact that they are behind, having a Sky Piercer is just going to be empty stat for him.
0-1-0, not the best that you'd want from a Granger. What is that damage, Cammy?
Oh, that's just bad cut. Just going in, hiding in that brush, waiting for the perfect opportunity to just spring into action. The way that this game is going, with a total of about 4,000 gold.
Oh!
I did!
What a steal! Perfectly timed as well. Gonna be able to get it with the meteor launching through, landing in. That's the Novaria for you. We haven't seen the Novaria in quite some time, but now I'm getting, I'm reminiscing into those moments where the Novaria could do so well in these, objective steals.
A little bit of a complacency from Virtus.pro. They did not try to block the turtle or anything, but here we go. The final slash is going to be landing on top of the two-person, while in the meantime, the SRG is just going to be landing just right on the Jasmine, but he's not going to be teleporting all the way to the back lines, though. He wants to play it a little bit safe. Well, Bad Cards as well as Pluto, they don't have a lot of HP to work with. Andoryu is a little bit ahead of himself. He needs to remember that there is still an Edith on the opposite side. The moment that he gets hit with the onwards and the Earth Shadow, he's gotta be real scary. He's gotta be scared about that. But in the middle lane, Super Igorka almost pushed down the entirety of the middle lane T1.
But that was mission success, right, for VP. That was mission success for Andoryu.
Did he manage to take the purple?
He did.
Oh.
1v3, 1v4, unpunished, taking it away. And obviously, too easy for Lexi requires that as a integral component to his kill pressure as the Hayabusa. I mean, look at his stats right now, 0-0.
It can't get any worse than this, right? Because I really want to see the Niightmare Esports is able to kind of turn things around. But speaking of which, it is going to be Bad Caught, finding himself one kill on the Jasmine. That is 5 deaths for the side of Jasmine already.
Now the big question is, what are they going to be able to convert that with? Andorio gets stunned in by Lucci, also very aggressive.
It's okay.
Okay, forced an ult there as well.
It's okay. Still fine. At this point in time, I think that Andoryu would have the Brute Force Breastplate and having the Oracle already. So having these two more or less ensures that he gets away from crowd control fast because of the reduction, and he heals super fast as well. The moment that you get an Oracle onto a Uranus, you're basically unstoppable. If the opponents don't get anything to stop your healing, then that is gonna absolutely suck. At least the Novaria has got a glowing wand. At least. But the next item on check, if Andoryu wants to play aggressive, it will be the Ice Queen's wand.
I have bad news though.
No.
That's a Swift Trinity for Super Gorka.
So he's ready, got what he needs.
He's ready.
He's ready.
He's ready. And Bobber, oh, what's Pluto?
Picking up ready. Andoryu is ready too. Picking up a mega kill for himself, and is just gonna be tossing right in the face of Niightmare Esports. What exactly can they do at this point in time?
That is attitude coming in from the Nightmare against Team Nightmare. And looks like Nightmare don't really have much to say about it. Look how aggressive he's going. That's under turrets.
The thick layer of health. There's nothing that they can do over to the side of Andoryu. As such, all the rest of the damage coming from the side of Virtus.pro will be more than enough to bring down Cammy, and it is unfortunately too easy for Lex. It's going to be the next one onto the track, but never mind. He do have the OG Shadow kill that allows him to get a kill down on Pluto. But would it be enough for him to get himself away? Almost to the Cyclone's Eye, but still down to the Ionic Discs from Virtus.pro.
Almost is never enough for too easy for Lexi. Single-handedly almost turned things around. But unfortunately, look at that regen coming through. Look at the sustain coming in through from Andoryu.
There's no damage whatsoever just yet. They need Buy Lucy to pop off. They need some farm over to Buy Lucy right at this point, because it's all about the thick HP from the side of Andoryu. The moment that he picks up himself the Stallium Scythe, and at the point in time picks up a lot of Wrath stack from tanking so much, that he will be the bane of Andoryu. Andoryu wouldn't even be able to see that coming. But in the meantime, basically seeing what coming, that is going to be a lot that's just going to be riding right on the waves. Onto the bottom lane T3, Pluto as well. He's just going to go straight in. Final Slash lands on the one, puts Jasmine in a really tough spot. As such, 2 men down already. Over to the side of Niightmare Esports with the T3 taken down. Andoryu tanking up like no tomorrow. And now too is it for Lexi. Trying to finesse something out of Virtus.pro, only to be pinned and skewered all over to the wall by Lucy as well as Cammy. Forced out all all the way to the fountain as Virtus.pro takes this game by the storm.
The first 2-0 we've seen today here at the wild cards for MSC at EWC 2025, and it comes from this team VP. They are young bloods that know no fear, and that is exactly what we saw from them from game number 1, game number 2, and